Good morning. Welcome to Wuxing Long Pai Taijiquan class. My name is Jeff Cote, and I am the Occidental Taoist. I want to apologize about Tuesday. My internet kept cutting out. Every 2 minutes, I'd try to get it set up. By the time I had finished typing something out and tried to go live. It would shut down, and I ended up having to call Comcast and kind of have them work out something. Apparently there was some issue. Apparently most of Townsend's having this problem, but I'm hoping today I won't have it. It seems to be operating just fine today, and after that conversation, it's gotten better. It still cuts out on me. So if we cut out and you lose the stream and it shuts down, check back again, like go back to the main page, because it's very possible that it starts up. Because what it did for me on last Thursday is it cut out like 5 minutes after I started, but it kept filming. And I think there was a consistent stream that some people were able to get or could sign back on. Like if you came back like 10 minutes after that happened, it worked just fine. So I apologize for this, but this is, it's internet providing services and outside of my control, other than being able to talk to them and try to get them to straighten it out. So today we're going to go back to that beginning. We've been working on the beginning material. We worked on deflecting left and right and roll back and press, and then the immortal pounds the mortar last Thursday. And we're going to do that again. We're going to cover, deeper material with the beginning, just looking at different stuff. I'm also going to represent some training, some Qigong training and Daoyin training that's part of the system that I feel like is very helpful to learn, because it starts to teach you a lot about the internal mechanisms. And I've presented them in these classes, in my live classes before, and but not on this live stream, I don't think. And for those of you that haven't seen those before, I think it'll be a good introduction to some of those materials. So our warm-up's going to take a good long time, like it did on Thursday, because we're going to do a lot more of the peripheral training that kind of gets down into preparing the body and the mind and the whole mind-body complex for a very deep experience of the Tai Chi. But we'll start off, I'm going to move over here into the sunlight. So we'll start off feet roughly shoulder width and parallel. Get a nice relaxed posture. You want to be soft and buoyant in your legs, a feeling like your center line can just go straight up and down. Once you have that, then we're going to pay attention to these right and left channels between the ball and socket joints of the hips, and then the jianzheng points and the shoulders. Straight up and down. We want to feel what's going on in there in each side of the torso and relax it. Notice your breath, how your breath moves in and fills. And if there's any holding on either side, try to relax that. Allow the breath to move all the way down. Place the tongue lightly on the roof of the mouth, on the hard palate, behind the teeth, and breathe in and out through the nose. We want the center line to be aligned and relaxed, so as though the Bai Hui point at the top of the head is being gently lifted from above, and you're going to relax everything else down off of that. So your spine relaxes, the Ming Men in the low back here opens up, the tailbone extends slightly downward, and you can align the three dantians, the lower abdomen, the center of the chest, and the center of the head. Feel where you are in your feet. Make sure you're not too far forward into the ball of the feet or too far back into the heels. We want to be in a spot where it's activated so you can feel the engagement of how you could push with those feet to come up or to push in a direction using just the ankle. Not that you're going to use just the ankle, but so that the ankle can be part of everything. But it's also not sitting, it's not so far forward that it's making your shins tight and putting your weight in your knees. We also want to make sure we're not so far back that we're sitting back into our heels and then leaning back. Usually what happens is people sit into their heels, they lean back a little bit, and then they do this to counterbalance, and they end up with their center line being back. And that's not where we want to be. We want the center line to be straight up and down. I usually play around with the shoulders a little bit to feel that sweet spot between lifting and compressing too far. It should feel relaxed and sunken, like the chest energy can sink right to the dantian, but you're not collapsed. should be active, but not propped. Bring the hands in front of the lower dantian. Let your awareness root here in the lower dantian and its relationship to the ground. One of the things we're looking for as we work is a deep connection between the lower dantian and the center of the earth. So take a few minutes to just stand and pay attention to that relationship. Then from that, the column of the body rises out of that relationship. This connects you into something much larger. And we bring the hands in front of the lower dantian, and as we inhale, we're going to expand our whole body. So I'm going to press through the legs and expand through the arms, elongate the spine. I'm trying to make every space in the body open up. So the space between the vertebrae, the space between the joints, the inner space of the body as I breathe and fill. I want to feel like my whole body just expands and makes more space. Exhale, it relaxes and returns towards the center. Go at your own pace. Make sure you're breathing with your breath and your natural breathing. And then bounce. Actually, we'll just do bounce rather than counter swing first. Sorry. And then counter swing. Notice I'm really anchoring the hips and not letting my legs twist. I'm trying to allow just a natural extension here, twisting extension from the leg through the torso on both sides. And column swing. And counter columns. And relax. Establish a strong central equilibrium. Good Jianzhuang stance. If you feel so inclined, you could start to work your legs wider if you like. I'm going to, but it is not necessary. I'm doing this to work with, I've been doing a little extra lower body work, and the body reacts and wants to try to tighten up. So I'll sit down into lower stances and work on opening up those ball and socket joints of the hips to keep it from getting tight. Whenever I start to notice it starting getting tight, I practice this sort of thing with a wide-legged stance, learning to let go under a light load. Now here today, what I'd like to do is rather than just do just standing, which has its own value, and I'm not gonna diminish that, but I have a lot I want to share with you guys at the beginning level so that you get some good basics that you can play with. And this one is Meridian Flow Qigong. Now, in Meridian Flow Qigong, we pay attention to the flow of the yin meridians as they move through the body together as a unit, and then the yang meridians and the changeover between them. Now, there's numerous different cycles and circuits of energy in the body and ways that it moves. There's the individual diurnal flow, which is, the chi moves through meridians in a particular sequence in terms of the dominance. The energy moves in dominance in a particular sequence. But the yin energy moves from the ground up into the torso, and then from the torso out into the limbs, out into the upper limbs, on the insides of the arms and hands. And those are the yin channels. And we'll kind of go through those in a little bit more detail. I'm giving an overview now. Then the yang channels flow from the hands onto the shoulders and onto the side of the head and face. And then from there, they go from the head over the top and sides and down the front corner to cover this entire part of the body, from this front corner, second toe, all the way out over the surface of the foot, up the side, down the sides of the body, and down the back of the whole body. So that's a lot of space, whereas the yin meridians cover the big toe and the sole of the foot, and up just this inside right here, just like the cover of my hands. It's about, roughly about here. Then up the center line of the body, internally as well as on the surface, right here, just about this wide. Then they spread into the torso. And then flow down the insides of the arms to the palms. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through that circuit by just brushing that a few times. Then we're going to sit into our stance, and we're going to circulate the chi in that sequence. Okay, so the yin channels again, start on the big toe, flow up, insides of the legs, brushing up. And then from the chest and underneath the arm, down to the palms. They emerge from inside the chest, around that middle dantian here, deep inside of it, but also on the surface here. And emerge here, in the chest, outside of the chest, and down the insides of the arms. We're going to do that in sequence with our breath. So on the inhale, it flows up. And I want you to brush this because I want you to get a physical mnemonic. You want to have something in your awareness that you can remember what it feels like to have something flow through that sequentially. And you'll use that. You'll try to recreate that felt experience as your awareness moves up. And this intent, this awareness of your intention and action will help to induce chi movement. Flow up. Exhale out. One more time with that sequence. Up. And out. Exhaling out. Then the yang channels flow this way. On the inhale, come up the back side of the arm, over the back and top of the shoulder, side of the neck, side of the head and face. Same thing here. We're just right now just getting familiar with these two regions, the yin and yang regions of the body, and the flow of the chi in those regions. Then, from the face, goes over the top and sides, down the front outside, side, and down the back. The side of the foot. Okay. Now we want to do that with our breath too. So we'll inhale on the sweeps up, exhale on the sweep down. On the sweep down, you'll see when I get to the body, I tend to go back and forth just to cover that whole area so I could just do it all in one breath. So let's inhale. Exhale. So then the sequence will go like this. Come up here, inhale. Coming up the yin meridians, exhale, down the yin meridians of the arms. Inhale up the yang meridians of the arms. And exhale down the yang meridians of the head and torso and legs. Okay. All right, now, the hand movements here as we do this. We're going to activate the Lao Gong point and the fingertips as though we're extending into the space. We're trying to reach in as though we're in water, and we're trying to move the water with our whole body and our intent. We're going to try to make a wave in that water. As you inhale, draw up the yin meridians of the legs, into the lower dantian and the front, up to the middle dantian, and then out through the arms to the hands. Then extend the fingers and activate the back of the hinge. You'll notice by activating in this movement, you can feel all of this activate. And so it helps you with your awareness. Come up the outside of the outside and back of the arms, just wrapping around the body. Inhale up. Exhale out. Inhale in. Up. Exhale in. Inhale up. Exhale out. Inhale in. And exhale. And close. So that was only 3 cycles through. 3 is a good starting point, but you'll want to kind of add to it as you go along. You want to eventually do maybe 8 or 9, and then 20, 30, 50, 100 cycles. Now, if you can do 100 cycles at one time in that low stance, you're starting to really develop strong chi, strong legs, and a really good stable base. All right. Next, we'll go through the rest of the warm-up. Hands, wrists, and fingers. Other way. Elbows. Other way. Shoulders. reverse. Opening and closing chest and shoulders. Trunk twists from the center. Here we're going to turn, shift, and turn. Patting your way up the body. Over to the center line. Down the center. I'm still using the turning of my center to create the movement of the arms. And patting the waist. And the hips. Waist rotations, that's moving that pelvic structure, the bowl of the pelvis, just in a nice parallel circle, parallel with the ground. And the other way. And I widen my feet. We're going to work the ball and socket joints of the hips. So you want to get a sense of pulling that ball and socket joint open. So I allow myself to shift to one side, anchor the foot with a gentle downward pressure, pull that ball and socket joint open. And then I'm going to make little circles. I want to feel that movement in there. Right in here. And the other way. Meanwhile, I'm still trying to keep my weight in the center of that triangle of the foot. There'll be some movement. You almost feel like your weight moves if this is the triangle of your foot, across the ball, foot to the heel. You'll feel like there's a movement right in the middle of it, of the knee as it goes into. And ideally, you want it to come in and just aim right at that center. Roll around. And we do the same thing on the other side. Pull this one open. And small circles. Notice if you tend to be tighter on the back side or the inside, from one side to the other. Just make notation. Notice connections between things. When you see things on one side, notice what it's like on the other, meaning other side of the body, but also front to back, inside to out, right to left, right front to left back, etc. We're just trying, one of the things we're trying to learn to do is to feel relationships of opposites or seeming opposites. And then eventually you realize, like, we've got an opposite here, but compared to here, this is more this than it is this, right? And it starts getting your mind into a real understanding of yin and yang. That is always this ever-changing dynamic of perspective. So what appears to be yin and yang here is really just the yin side of this yin and yang here, right? But there is a yin and yang there too. So in this, you start getting this infinitesimally divided yin and yang experience, and eventually it all comes back into a larger picture again. Hoping I'm explaining that well. It's kind of a abstract concept. We go the other way with the circling. Then we're going to turn. Notice the rotation now. The right and left channels are going to rotate. These ball and socket joints in relationship to each other as you sink into this leg and twist, and it folds in. This relationship changes, and this one rotates out and open. But I'm still in the middle. Then I shift to one side, and I switch them, and I want to feel those two rotations, those right and left channels in the ball and socket joints of the right and left hip, and all the energy and power around it. Meanwhile, trying to keep my knee in the center of the triangle of that foot and the center of the triangle of this foot. This practice right here is really, really valuable. It really begins to make you more aware of everything going on around these hips and the connection from the legs into the dantian. If you are unaware and are tight in this quad area, deep in here, and you feel like everything's condensed and congealed and you can't feel, then you're going to have a hard time making a connection between the dantian and the ground. And that makes your whole Tai Chi weak, right? Because you've got no root. We have to really open this up, and we want to open it up more and more. So we play around with that. And I'm always feeling how much power I'm using to twist and to press, and how much I'm using in a different way to receive and gather as it rotates in and then twists out. Then I reverse, turning the other way. Again, tailbone is always down. I've got that long, elongated, open torso where the back is open. The Ming Men is open and not with lordosis. I want from the side, so you can see it from the side. My feet are slightly out. And that center line is open. See that spine stays elongated and upright. And shake it out. Patting the legs. Friction rubbing the knee. And the other side. Then, feet together. Small circles with the knees, supporting the kneecaps, keeping your weight in the center of the triangle of those feet. Other way. And then keeping the feet flat on the ground. Deep bends. And shake out your legs. To loosen them now, sweating into my eyes here. Getting a little warm out in the sun. Sit into the one leg. You should always be buoyant. This is never about just one leg, even though we're on one leg. It's never about just this one or about this one. We often will fixate on one or the other. We want to learn to bring them together into one activity. So we make small circles, but always paying attention to our stability, feeling the space that we occupy below us and above us. And all around. And the other way. Notice where your weight is in the triangle of the foot. And foot and ankle. Other way. And brushing the grass. And the other way. Behind. And the other way. Switch to the other leg. Soft and buoyant. Ankle and hip. Other way. Foot and ankle. Other way. And brushing the grass. Other way. And behind. And the other way. And shake it out. Root into the legs. Before we do the hamstrings and opening up the bladder channel in the back, I'm going to do a piece of what's known as Tian Shu Dao Yin, which is Celestial Pivot Dao Yin. Dao Yin is often referred to as Taoist yoga. There is an element of that sense of stretching that's present. We don't generally tend to hold too many static postures, like getting into a twisted posture and holding it, although we do some, but that hold is usually very short as you work at expanding and releasing into the position, and then it flows to often the opposite side. So in this particular case, you're going to see that. We're going to do first, you get a good basic Zhuang stance, feet roughly shoulder width. You can be a little bit wider if you like. Don't go too wide, however, at least yet, not yet. So we start here, press our palms down. And I want you to get a sense like you're gently pushing down, and your spine is elongating up and down. Tailbone down, back of the neck and head open. The body weight goes up and the chin ever so slightly goes down. Meanwhile, you've got a strong central equilibrium along the tongmai, or the central channel. And the right and left channels are both gently rotating in. That includes, there's a rotation here and a sinking in. From here, we're going to turn just the middle dantian. Lower dantian needs to stay where it is, so it doesn't turn. The lower dantian stays straight forward. Middle dantian is going to rotate. And we want to keep the fingers along this same plane of the center line of the middle dantian, so we don't end up pulling like this as we come across. Still right in the center of the chest. Then when I get to the maximum rotation, and I turn my neck and head. And release. Back to the center. Go the other side. And this is on the inhale. So you rotate on the inhale. Pause on the pause between inhale and exhale. And exhale. We're going to do that again. Remember, press down, elongate as you twist. On the other side. Hands come up. Level of the middle down chin. Keep those shoulders down. You can even have your fingers lightly touch, if that helps. The middle finger lightly touch. Keep that shoulder down. There's a gentle twist and rotation all the way to the hand. We do the same thing. Notice, like I came out of my left leg just a little bit, twist it, sit back down, re-anchor it, and move back into it. One more time on each side. Come down. And up. Shoulder blades down, palms up, same thing. And down. Gather the cheek. Press the legs back, elongate the spine, flatten the back, fold at the waist. Take your time, really elongate the back of the body. Don't be in a rush, just get through it. Every stage of this has value. The more attention and intention you bring to it, the more value it has. Turn towards one side, keeping the spine long. Feel where your weight is in the foot, equalize it. Work with the rotation of the leg all the way into the hip and how that relates into the spine. Feel the opposite side, this quadratus lumborum. Push this way to feel how that does and come back. Always trying to elongate. And then back to the other side. Go slow so you can feel the transitions of the weight in both legs and keep it in the center of that triangle of the foot. pressing back into that opposite hip to get that quadratus lumborum and this whole side. Reach out with the front hand and then with the back hand. Keeping everything long, sweep through. These two dragons circle the pond. Center and the squat stance. Try to make that spine nice and long. Open up the torso. Open up the lower hips. Gently, very gently, squeeze the elbows with the legs. Very gently. Feel those right and left channels. Press down with the arms. Place the hands down. Lean your weight in with your legs and open up those hips. Feel super ambitious and you really want to let some weight settle onto there, you can shift up, letting your weight come forward, picking up the feet, and really settle your hips. This is about opening the hips though. And if you get sweaty, you start sliding around. It's challenging. Press the legs back, heels down, press up with legs into the low back, roll the spine up from bottom to top. A little warm. And some dragon spine now. This is that serpentine articulation of the spine. One of the things you want to learn how to do with this is learn how to get the rotation of the hips in and out to create and participate in creating that serpentine spinal action. So it's not just the torso that's doing things. You're working here. Right? That way the dantian is engaged as it interacts with everything, from the dantian to the ground, all and back up, all the way up. So I roll in, and I sink, then I let that pelvis drop, and then right up the yang channels of the back. It's like this, rotating on the outside as I come up, and right up the back. And I rotate in, and it sinks down naturally, sinks down again. Back up. And close. Now there's a whole dragon coiling sequence with the palms, all that. I'll go through that in more detail next time, on Tuesday perhaps, barring more internet problems. But I will go through that in the future. I'll explain how what we just did actually plays into the spiral in the arm and shoulder that enables that action, right? And how it all works together, including making space. So as I come back, getting that timing, so that as I come back, I'm extending here to elongate all of this and eventually open it up and make it more possible to go further and further with the twist, freeing up the shoulder more and more. All right. Check where we are on time so I know how far I can go today on the form. All right, we got about 8 minutes. That's good. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to review what we did last Thursday real briefly. We'll talk about a couple of the positions, like we'll pause in a couple of them this time and really let you feel the structure. And then we'll go on to the first move of the next section, okay? Learning to get that split and open really well. So we start off, this time we're also going to add in the very first move, which is Sleeping Dragon awakens and finds the root, which is this is a preparatory move. We start with our feet together. We've got a nice central equilibrium. There's a buoyancy. We're not locked, but we're not collapsing either. We're not too far down. There's just a slight bend to the knees. We've got that buoyancy in the legs. Center line can still move up and down. We've got everything aligned. Shoulders are relaxed. Tongue lightly touches the roof of the mouth. Breath moves in and out through the nose. Breathing into the lower dantian, expanding like what they call the bellows breath, where you, as you inhale, it expands. Exhale, it condenses. It's just the natural breath for now. So as we do this, we're going to kind of pay attention to this meridian flow that we did earlier. Now that we covered the meridian flow, I can explain part of the internal mechanism that's going on in this move. As I'm doing this movement here, and my hands are coming up, I'm letting my awareness go from my feet up to the lower dantian. I'm creating that flow, just like the meridian flow, right up the yin channels, but also up the deep right and left channels and right into the dantian. Then I let my awareness come around the dantian, around that daimai, right, out the Mingmen, and around the waist as I turn, set the foot, turn back. Now I let my awareness go from my center up to the middle dantian and through the arms and down. Now I've established right and left channels, central channel, all my basic structures from here down. Always the Bai Hui is up, so it connects with that sense of central equilibrium. Everything becomes unified. I finish with my palms facing back. I drop down, my palms face back, fingers down. There's a slight rolling forward. Everything's slightly rolling in. Okay, let's go through that sequence again. Tongue lightly touches the roof of the mouth. From the bubbling well on the sole of the foot, the big toe, up the yin channels, and the inside. Lower dantian as I turn around the Mingmen, around the daimai, girdling vessel. Center line. Let's do that one more time. Kind of anchor it into the body so we know what we're doing. Yin channels. Around the daimai. Middle dantian. And we've got Tai Chi beginning. Reflecting left. All right. Now here, before we shift, what we want to do, we'll take it, this point as a stopping point. We want to get that center of the triangle of the foot through the leg to the ball and socket joint of the hip, up to Jianjiang. Meanwhile, this left side, center of the triangle of the foot, knee and hip are all together. Those come together to form the bowl of the pelvis, which supports the center line. Now we've reconnected everything from our basic stance. Right? This hand is close, this hand is further away. Palms slightly up. And just pause and feel that. Feel where your balance is. Play around with your hips. Make sure you're where you want to be. And shift our weight more fully to the center of the triangle of this foot and withdraw the left. Step out at a 45-degree angle and turn the foot straight forward. Lace it down and let that drop pull you between your feet more evenly. Turn. Now as we turn, these rotate. Now this one has to stay open. Don't let this collapse. And receive into this leg. Expand through this leg. Straight forward. Remember, I'm trying not to go from leg to leg, but straight between them with my center line. This one, this hand represents this expansion through the leg. This hand represents this receptivity on this side and buoyancy and how If I receive force, I'm redirecting it to the ground. So I'm neutralizing any force that's opposing. Okay. Let's do that again from here. Because this side is receptive, even though it's got that expansive quality. One more time, this position. I'm going to receive fully into this leg and withdraw this one. Center line. We've got that butterfly fist where it's hollow in the middle. Practicing this because eventually if you do any Taiji sword work, the way you hold the Jian is with this grip and then these guys support. So we practice our butterfly fist that way with the thumb on the outside of the ring finger and middle finger, which lightly touch but leave a space. Right. The hand expands out. Lift and I let my awareness come right up the center line and drop. Remember, I'm not shifting yet. I'm just learning to drop. Boom, let it drop, then shift in, let that pull you into this leg while you gently expand with that. Trying to match those changes. So come up. That way I'm not falling into my leg. I never want to fall into the leg. I just want to drop it and shift into it. Should happen incredibly smoothly till it almost feels like it's one thing. Well, not almost, till it does feel like it's one thing. So come up. And from here on the split, the very next move, we're going to receive into this leg and let it twist up while this one shifts and twists down. Get this first. Forget about the hands. Just get that, learning to feel that exchange in the lower body as I receive and rotate in and expand and rotate out on this side from the center. It's always just about the changing dynamic from the center. Center is changing its relationship. I'm not doing things, I'm changing relationships, just following along. And from there, you'll end up shifting and turning to the other side, getting that same exchange. Get the lower body right first. Notice if you kick your hip out, notice if you tend to do this, you've got to correct all of that. Before you can do anything, before the hands can even hope to be right, you have to get everything from here down right. That tailbone has to always be down. The bowl of the pelvis has to always be parallel to the ground, ready to receive from above. Here, and then shift and turn here. Notice this doesn't collapse. It stays open, dynamic, all the way through to every toe. This one's receptive from every toe. Just getting that change back and forth. From there, now we can add the hand piece in, where when I go to my left, this side, this hand is going to sink along with my weightedness in this leg. This hand is going to expand just like this leg is expanding. This left hand turns down, this right hand comes up and twists. I want a natural twist. Don't force, don't make your hand stiff, but extend. We should have a sense of extension through the fingers. We should also have that dragon palm that I've talked about. It's there, it's just soft. Very hard to see unless you know what to look for. Now here, I've got this sense of the expanding sphere. That's in the elbow, in the arm, in the whole body, in the back of the torso, back here. So as I split, I've also got a sphere, an expanding sphere happening. This expansion. So it's split and expand. Then I'm going to rotate it. Now, if you watch, it's really a spiral that comes out on each side. Okay. Each side spirals from the center out. Your energy is always flowing that way. Your intent energy is always flowing that way, but it's also always this way and this way. It's tricky and yet easy. Split and open. Shouldn't be collapsed here. We're almost like we were in deflect right, just a little narrower, right? Then to finish that move, everything spirals back in towards the center. So the hands cross. Just left of center. I can go a little further, shifting more, and continue this motion. So I can do this in repetition. And I highly recommend you practice that. Bringing it back in, back out. Playing around, feeling one whole side, feeling the other whole side, learning to work them individually and together. See, this whole side, rotating and out, rotating and out. I'm exaggerating some things so you can see it. When you do it in the form, you shouldn't do that exaggeration, okay? I'm trying to make some very subtle internal elements very externally present and visible to you. You know, if I practice on my own, I don't ever, it's always much more hidden than that. I'm not showing where all this twisting and all that's happening because I'm not going to work that hard. I'm just trying to learn to activate everything. And that's a good thing to do sometimes at the beginning, is to accentuate a little extra so you can feel where you fight, where your tension is. But then you want to pull back from that and do less and less and less until eventually it looks like you're just barely doing anything. But yet the power of all of that is present because you've learned how to activate it all. And it's available for any time you need it. It takes great presence of mind. All right, one more time with that split and open. And then cross the hands. Okay? All right. Close. Taking that stuff apart like that and really examining all those changes is incredibly valuable. And I recommend, even if you know the whole form now, you do the same thing that we just did and you start analyzing where weight is, where the turn is, where expansion happens. Can I maintain the principles? The underlying principles have to be maintained. All the principles we have in our basic Wu Ji or Ling Kong Jing or Dragon Rolling Pearl exercises, those should be present all the time, underlying everything. So anytime you learn a new move, you've got to learn to work with that new move within that context and keep it within that context. Not get so focused on getting your hands and feet where they look like they're supposed to be, but getting your body to move to that position while maintaining that internal stillness and internal motion simultaneously. Okay, that happens from that, that you learn from this emptiness, this Wu Ji stance, or the empty force, as you learn to move in here, and all the little adjustments, all of these little trainings that we do feed that. Without that, you're just waving your arms around. All right. Thank you guys very much. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Again, I apologize for Tuesday, and I thank you for your forbearance with it and sticking with me and keep coming back. If that ever happens, I've got all my live streams are still on YouTube, right? So you can just go and pick any one of them and just follow it along. And at least you get a practice in that day. That's one of the reasons why I leave them up there, is that if I ever have a situation where something happens like my internet, that there's always something for people to do. If they show up and my live stream isn't there, you can still follow along with something, and it's still a live stream. It's just an older one. Okay. Thank you very much. If you'd like to help me support my work, you can go to my coffee page. That's ko-fi.com/Occidental Taoist and leave me a class donation or just some donation. Or, you can also go there and leave me a message. If you have a question and you feel like you're not sure emails getting through, or which sometimes they don't. I've had numerous people send me emails, and then 3 weeks later I find them in my spam folder, or however long. Sometimes they get buried too. But if you want to leave me a message, you can do that on a coffee page. You can also go to my Facebook page, and that's the Occidental Taoist. You go there, you can leave me a message there as well. That one sends me notifications all the time, so it's really easy for me to get that, and I respond to them fairly quickly. Also here on YouTube, I believe there's a way to leave a message. If you want to send me a message on YouTube, I don't check it very often. I think I've got settings so that it informs me by email, but I'm not sure, so it's not always the best way. But if you have requests, even like you'd like me to review something that we've done or explain something that I just did in a live stream, and you'd like a little bit more detail, or you don't understand something completely, I'm here for you guys. So send me a note, and I'm happy to help you out. I've also got some other exclusive content on Patreon. So you can go to my Patreon page. That's patreon.com, again, /Occidental Taoist. And you can find some exclusive content there. Thank you guys very much. Have a wonderful weekend, and may you have many blessings of radiant health and a peaceful, happy heart. Thank you.